There is a kind of silence that only exists in swamps, not the silence of absence, but the silence of waiting, the silence of something ancient, patient, and utterly indifferent. It is not empty. It is full of life, of movement, of eyes beneath the water, watching. And on the morning of May 6, 2025, that silence swallowed a woman whole. Lake Kissimmee, Central Florida, one of the largest freshwater lakes in the state. A sprawling 27-square-mile expanse of cypress trees, reeds, and black water. A place where the modern world feels distant, where cell signals fade, and the only clock is the sun. And here, at 6:47 a.m., a small blue canoe slid into the mist. Inside it, 61-year-old Cynthia Dickema. She was not a thrill-seeker, not a reckless tourist. She was a woman who came in peace, to listen, to breathe, to remember what it meant to be part of nature. But nature does not always return the favor. Sometimes it simply remembers. This is not just a story about an alligator attack. It is a story about boundaries, about the illusion of safety, about what happens when the wild no longer sees you as a visitor, but as a threat, or prey, or memory. And it begins not with violence, but with love. Cynthia Dickema was born in 1964 in Winter Haven, Florida, a small town nestled between citrus groves and wetlands. Her childhood was shaped by the rhythms of the South, slow summers, thunderstorms that rolled in like armies, and weekends spent with her father fishing along the shores of Lake Howard. She wasn't drawn to cities. She was drawn to stillness. After earning a degree in biology from the University of Central Florida, she worked as a lab technician in a high school, teaching students about ecosystems, food chains, and the delicate balance of life. But it was outside the classroom where she truly came alive. In the 1990s, she married Robert Dickema, a quiet man who shared her love for the outdoors. They never had children, but they adopted 2 rescue dogs, a terrier mix named Scout and a blind beagle named Daisy. Their home was modest, surrounded by native plants, with a small pond where frogs sang every evening. After Robert's sudden death in 2022, a heart attack while mowing the lawn, Cynthia withdrew. She stopped attending church. She gave up her part-time job. But she didn't stop going to the swamp. Instead, she went more often. She began writing, not fiction, but essays, short poetic reflections on the Everglades, on the misunderstood beauty of reptiles, on the way alligators sun themselves like old philosophers on the banks of forgotten rivers. One of her most read pieces, published in the Florida Wetlands Journal, was titled, "Why I Forgive the Alligator." We call them monsters because they look like monsters. But they don't hate, they don't plan, they don't dream of us. They simply exist, as we once did. They are not evil, they are ancient. And when we enter their world, we must do so with humility, not arrogance. To fear them is human, to hate them is foolish, to forget that we are guests is fatal. She believed in coexistence. She believed in respect. She believed the swamp could heal her. And on that morning she returned to it, not to escape, but to belong. Lake Kissimmee is not just a body of water. It is a living system, a network of rivers, marshes, and tributaries that feed into the Everglades. It is home to over 16,000 alligators, one of the highest densities in the United States. And it is changing. Climate change has altered the rhythm of the lake. Wet seasons come later, dry spells last longer. Water levels fluctuate unpredictably, and as the human footprint expands, with housing developments creeping closer to the shoreline, the line between wild and domestic blurs. Alligators, once pushed to the edges, now live in retention ponds, golf course canals and suburban ditches. They adapt, they survive, but they do not forget. And in the deeper, untouched parts of the lake, like the area near Low Island, the old ones remain, the giants, the rulers. Biologists estimate that the average lifespan of an American alligator is 30 to 50 years. Some live longer, much longer. And the one that waited for Cynthia that morning, he was likely over 35, over 11 feet long, a veteran of droughts, hurricanes, and decades of silence. This was his domain. He had seen boats come and go, fishermen, kayakers, tourists snapping photos. Most left quickly, none stayed. Until her. She didn't shout. She didn't throw things. She didn't feed them. A common, deadly mistake. But she was there, in his space, at his hour. And in the animal world, presence is provocation. Let's reconstruct what likely happened. Cynthia launched her canoe around 6:47 a.m. The water was calm, the mist thick. She rowed slowly, following the shoreline toward Low Island, a known nesting and basking zone for large alligators. She may have seen him, or she may have only sensed him, a shadow beneath the surface, a ripple without a cause. But she didn't panic. She trusted her knowledge. She believed she was safe. But she was wrong. Alligators do not attack like crocodiles. They do not lunge from the bank. They do not chase, they ambush. And the method is simple, brutal, and perfected by evolution. He approached from below, silent, invisible. His body, low in the water, created no wake. His eyes, just above the surface, locked onto the canoe. Not the woman, the vessel, a foreign object in his territory. At 7:03 a.m., he struck, not at her, at the water beneath the canoe, with a single explosive flick of his tail, generating over 2,000 pounds of force. He created a pressure wave that destabilized the lightweight plastic hull. The canoe tipped. Cynthia lost her balance. The paddle flew. She fell into the water. Now she was in his world. Alligators are not fast swimmers, but they are powerful, and underwater they dominate. He seized her, likely by the leg, and initiated the death roll, a rapid spinning motion designed to disorient, drown, and dismember. It is not about eating. It is about control. In that moment, she was not a person. She was resistance, and he eliminated it. She fought. She kicked. She screamed. But the water filled her lungs, and within seconds, she was gone. The entire attack likely lasted less than 90 seconds. No one saw it. No one heard it. Only the silence remained. At 7:12 a.m., fisherman Randy Harrison spotted the overturned canoe. He called 911. Within 30 minutes, Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation FWC arrived. Drones, boats, divers. By 9:45 a.m., they found her body, 4 meters down, partially buried in silt, 200 meters from the canoe. Cause of death, drowning and traumatic injuries consistent with an alligator attack. Her silver turtle pendant still on her wrist. And beside her, the alligator, 11 feet 4 inches long. Not fleeing, not aggressive, just there, as if on guard. A second alligator, nearly as large, was captured 2 kilometers away 2 days later. Experts believe it may have been attempting to steal the carcass, a common behavior among dominant males. Both were euthanized, not as punishment, as policy. Animals of that size, that proximity to humans, are deemed high risk. The story made national news. Woman killed by alligator in Florida. Headlines read, but the deeper story was ignored. Cynthia's family released a statement. She loved alligators. She respected them. We do not blame the animal. We blame the lack of awareness. We hope her story teaches others to be careful, not afraid. FWC increased patrols, added warning signs, launched a public campaign. If you see a gator, give it space. But the real impact was cultural. People began to question, How safe is safe? Can we ever truly coexist with predators? And when we enter the wild, are we guests or intruders? The swamp remembers. Cynthia Dickema is buried in a small cemetery outside Davenport, Florida. Her grave is marked with a simple stone. She listened to the water, and it spoke back. Lake Kissimmee remains. The alligators remain. The mist still rises at dawn. And if you go there now, on a quiet morning, and look into the black water, you might feel it. Not fear, not grief, but presence. As if something in the depths knows you're watching. As if the swamp remembers every soul who ever entered it. Because nature does not forgive. It does not forget. It does not hate. It simply remembers. And sometimes it answers.